Polipede works here. And yes, that was not clickbait. I actually think there's going to be a Gear 6. Okay, a little bit of preamble first before I really get into what I'm talking about. And maybe this will help you understand where I'm coming from. Okay, so throughout the series, Luffy has been characterized in many ways by the numbers 5 and 6, Go and Mu. Sometimes he even wears clothing with the number 56 on there, which is just a grammatical way of saying Go Mu, because Go, G-O, means 5, Mu, M-U, means 6. The tippity top of his transformations, Gear 5th, the sort of apex of all of what he can do, being the awakening of his human fruit model Nika, is labeled Gear 5. So now it stands to reason that if there's a 5, there should be a 6 somewhere. I think the 6 will come in later. However, the nature of what Gear 6 will be, I think it's going to be a bit similar, but a bit different to things we have seen. Okay. So with that being said, let's continue. So concerning the gears, I think gears 2nd through 4th are simply stat buffs. They aren't full transformations because Luffy doesn't gain any new abilities in gears 2nd through 4th. What he does gain are speed increases, defense increases, and strength increases, but no new actual abilities, just different ways to use things he's had already. The difference here between those in Gear 5th is that Gear 5th actually has a plethora of abilities that aren't accessible to base Luffy. Base Luffy cannot transform energy in people and objects into rubber. He cannot materialize things from his hair. He cannot run on air. Gear 5th Luffy can do all of these things. Therefore, Gear 5th and base Luffy are two different things. In the future, I think just based on the utility that we've seen from Gear 5th, this is our new tough fight transformation go-to. Because unlike Gear 4th, which has been our tough transformation go-to kind of for the majority of the time skip, it doesn't waste Haki. It doesn't have that high of a drawback when the transformation needs to be reset or when fatigue sets in. Gear 5th, as we've seen in the Kato fight and recently in Egghead, when Luffy does experience fatigue from the fight, he can simply just go back into the transformation nearly immediately. This is a far cry from the history of Gears as a concept, because as we know, Gear 2nd, when it was first debuted, he could only pop in and out of it and it would fatigue him greatly. Gear 3rd had a severe drawback in turning him primarily just defenseless. And then Gear 4th wastes Haki. So Gear 5th and all of its powers are going to be our new go-to for fighting simply because of its abilities and its utility. However, I do think that will lead us into what I think Gear 6 would actually be. Time for the main attraction. Okay, so what do I think Gear 6 is? Like I said previously, I think Gears 2 through 4 are just power-ups because they are not additive to Luffy's abilities. They are further expressions of what he can already do. Speed, strength, Haki, all these things are immediately available to Luffy. Gears 2 through 4 are just further expressions of those abilities. Gear 5th, totally different moveset, totally new standard of fighting, right? Okay, if I were to compare these two categories to anything else, Gears 2 through 4 would be Kaioken, whereas Gear 5th would be Super Saiyan. One is a power-up that burns out very quickly, might I add, while the other is indicative to the state of the character. That being, Gear 5th is an awakening, whereas the others are just sort of just techniques that Luffy can do because of the state his body is in. Now, what do I think Gear 6 is going to be? The interesting thing about Gear 4th is that Gear 4th did shore up a weakness that Luffy has always had, which is the weakness to being cut or pierced. So, what I think Gear 5th will implement, because Gear 5th retains this weakness because he's not using hockey armor. So what I think Gear 6 will be is just Gear 5th hockeyed up to have an armor similar to Gear 4th. And like Gear 4th, I think there will be different modes to Gear 6, but due to the shape-shifting properties of Gear 5th, like the gigantification, the readily available muscle expansion, and all that sort of jazz, I think he'll be able to stance change, which is something the community has talked about for a while. Seeing as how there were different forms of Gear 4th, I think in Gear 6, he'll retain those forms, but he'll be able to go in and out of them on the spot. So there could be a Gear 6 Bow Man, which then translates into a Gear 6 Tank Man, and then into a Gear 6 Snake Man, and however many other different states he might have. So with that being said, let's break things down. Gears 2 through 4 are power-ups. Gear 5th is the first True Blue transformation, all right? Gear 6th is going to be Gear 5th plus the armor of Gear 4th and perhaps readily available stance changes because of Gear 5th's transformation techniques. With that being said, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. If you like stuff like this, please feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Polipede Works. And if you like what you see, I would appreciate your subscription. Thank you so much. See you next time.